for the 2018 season. I would like that very much.
Chris Mortensen and Adam Schefter are in Orlando at the owners' meetings and join us now with more on the latest Beckham fallout. Schefty, I'll start with you.
Well, Wendy, we have a situation that's clearly coming to a head. We've got Odell Beckham Jr. in the same class that had Sammy Watkins and Mike Evans. And what have we seen? We've seen both of those wide receivers get paid here in the last month. Odell Beckham Jr. has not yet been paid. You're talking about arguably one of the most, if not the most talented players in the entire NFL. He wants to get paid. But the Giants recognize some of the behavior, and John Mara made it perfectly clear yesterday that anything can happen here, that they would listen to trade offers. He's not pleased with some of Odell Beckham Jr.'s behavior, and because of the fact that Odell Beckham Jr. wants to get paid and has a year left in his contract, and the Giants know that they have to pay him or move on from him, we've got a situation that I think, Mort, is pretty tumultuous.
Yeah, and I think even before we came to the meetings, we were hearing some undercurrent that Odell Beckham Jr. has to change his path in terms of his conduct off the field. They're concerned about the culture in the locker room. One reason why maybe Jason Pierre-Paul was abruptly traded. And the viral video was just one part of that. It goes back to last year and even the year before that. So before they commit a big contract to him, or if they actually do put him on the market at some point, they want to see some of the behavioral changes affect the team in a positive way.
But listen, we've been following this. If you go back to last offseason, he didn't show up for the mandatory or the mini camps at that point. He did show up for the mandatory mini camps. He made no secret of the fact that he wanted a contract. There have been any number of these incidents that have come up off the field that have gotten the Giants' attention, that have caused everybody to speculate as to what's going on. When you've got a new general manager, Dave Gettleman,
that's it.
He wants things done his way. He wants a certain culture in place, and either people are going to fall into line or they're going to move on from them. And that's why I think some of these comments and conversations have come up here, fueled by the Giants owner himself, John Mara.
When John Mara went public with it yesterday, Wendy, that put this way out there in terms of how much we thought we would talk about Odell Beckham Jr. at this particular meetings. Will he be traded before the draft? Not likely, but let's see if he participates.
But not out of the question.
Not out of the question, but let's see how the thing goes forward and how he responds, Odell Beckham Jr., in terms of off-season work and during the summer.
But you would agree that they certainly seem hesitant to pay him right now.
Oh, they're not giving him $20 million a year or whatever he wanted at this point. No contract's getting done at this point.
And if no contract's getting done, then he's not going to be happy. And this is going to only exacerbate the issue, which is why we get back to the fact that the Giants either have to make a decision to pay him or to move on from him.
Right. And if Dave Gettleman, the general manager, is ready to move on from him, what he has is the blessing from ownership to do that if he feels the need to take that extreme step.
Mort Schefty, thank you. We'll be back with you shortly, and certainly it's understandable that at the very least there'd be some pause at this point given the history here, despite the fact that he is a game-changing player, no question, when he's on the field. So it's Monday. Overreaction Monday. We'll start with this. Odell Beckham Jr. should be untouchable. Is that an overreaction?
That is an overreaction, Wendy. There are very few players that would classify as untouchable in the NFL. And to be honest with you, of that small group of players, I'd imagine at least half, if not the majority, are quarterbacks, especially young quarterbacks on controllable contracts or on long-term deals. But for Odell Beckham Jr., it's clear the talent on the field is obvious. He's the most talented wide receiver in the game, or he's just behind Antonio Brown. That's the caliber of player he is. But that conversation right there between Mort and Adam tells you everything you need to know. This is about so much more than the stuff on the field with Odell Beckham Jr. It's the antics off the field, to some of the stuff that we've seen on social media. It's some of the stuff that we've seen on the field, like that scuffle with Josh Norman. There are very few players in the NFL, again, that are untouchable. Odell Beckham Jr. is not one of them.
I agree with the field. It's an overreaction for me. And, John Mara typically is very measured when he's talking to the media. And he's certainly measured when he's talking about his own players, usually not very critical at all. He was talking about a guy that's, too often putting himself in bad situations and needs to show better judgment. Does that sound like an owner talking about a guy that he's ready to make the highest paid wide receiver in the game, or a guy that wants to be paid, more like a quarterback than a wide receiver? Yeah. To me, I think that Odell Beckham Jr. is treading in some dangerous territory with his standing with the Giants.
He does have his issues, but I'll say it's not an overreaction. And there are very few untouchable players in the league. But for the New York Giants, he's what they have offensively. And in terms of offensive weaponry, what are you looking for if you're the New York Giants? You're looking at Odell Beckham Jr. So you've got a new head coach in Pat Shurmur, a new general manager in David Gettleman. He could work. I'm a player in the locker room thinking, why would we want to get rid of our most valuable weapon? Can't you guys get him to get into line like Sheffy's talking about? Get in line, get him in the office, try to form some type of contract he's happy with, and let's go score some points with this guy. So you want to get rid of your most valuable offensive weapon. It's easy to say trade him for a couple twos, maybe get a first-round pick or something like that. They're not going to be an Odell Beckham Jr., that type of game changer. You're going to be struggling offensively without this guy.
I think it's important to draw the line, though. Calling him, saying he's not an untouchable is different from advocating for trading Odell Beckham Jr. away. It's just that the right offer came.
There's some middle ground there, I think.
And by the way, you heard Mort say $20 million.
Like, if you want
so the idea of which would make him far and away the highest paid receiver in the game. That's where I could see the Giants being really uncomfortable doing something like that.
If we don't think that we're going to ever get a long-term deal done with him, the shelf life might be 2 more seasons. Hey, let's take 2 first-round picks for 2 seasons of Odell Beckham.
If he wants his money, he's got to be willing to come in and be a part of that team and showing that you can be a part of the greater good and then help this team win, then maybe you get your contract.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we can debate this all day long. I think it's clear the ownership, at least with the Giants, have been pretty clear on that. I thought Mara was quite clear. And Beckham's also looking to bounce back after an ankle injury last season. In his first 3 seasons, though, he tallied over 4,100 receiving yards. The only player with more in his first 3 seasons is our wide receiver, Randy Moss. We'll continue with this. After his release from the Dolphins, Ndamukonh Suh has gone on a nationwide tour looking for a new place to play. He stopped in New Orleans first before heading to Tennessee and then swung all the way out to the West Coast to meet with the Rams. He was going to meet with the Raiders as well, but that was canceled altogether. The Jets say they made an offer, but then rescinded that offer to Suh, saying that it just did not seem to be in keeping with their long-term plan. That was according to Jets CEO Christopher Johnson, and he told that to reporters at the owners' meetings in Orlando, which is where we go back to now with Mort and Adam. And Mort, what's the word there regarding Ndamukonh Suh?
Well, Suh obviously has been very deliberate in how he's gone about this process of being a free agent this time. And the early sense was that the Saints and Titans were probably the leaders in the clubhouse, and then he made that trip to L.A. And we do believe that this could wrap up fairly soon, don't we, Adam?
Well, listen, it's gone on so long, Mort, that it could happen at any point in time. There aren't that many free agents that take this long to make a decision, frankly.
Look, real quick, I mean, could we actually see a team have Ndamukonh Suh and Aaron Donald line up next to each other?
Absolutely feasible.
With
And
the
I think you look at the Rams as the favorite right now, and we'll see what Ndamukonh Suh decides. Look, again, the Jets are out of this. The Raiders are out of this. The Titans and Saints have unique opportunities where he could line up next to Jarrell Casey in Tennessee, Cameron Jordan in New Orleans. But the 2 things that Ndamukonh Suh have been looking for are a place where he would not be double-teamed. He would not be double-teamed playing next to Aaron Donald. And he's looking for a place where he knows he's going to win. And L.A. has put together a very strong roster. And if you take Ndamukonh Suh with Aaron Donald up front and Aqib Talib and Marcus Peters and Sam Shields in the secondary, you're looking at a potentially very strong defensive unit, not to mention the fact that I think he would like to play in L.A. and be around a businessman as successful as Stan Kroenke. So all these factors play in LA's favor, but we still have not gotten an answer. And whereas many of these free agents made decisions without even visiting places, Ndamukonh Suh is now taking the tour that he didn't do when he signed with the Miami Dolphins and taking his time and solicited the opinions of a whole number of people. And these teams thought they'd have an answer by now, and they don't. So, yeah, it could happen at any point.
I think it could happen before the end of the week, don't you?
Definitely before the end of the week, yes.
Wendy?
Mort, Adam, thank you. And let's just pick it up right there before we continue with Overreaction Monday, because I think for a lot of people, the idea of Ndamukonh Suh lining up with the L.A. Rams, given the personnel that's already there today, is scary for any team who might be on the other side of the football.
Well, they're still going to find ways to double team him, even if he's on the same line with Aaron Donald. But it may be the first time, Wendy, that Ndamukonh Suh plays for a defense or a defensive line where he's not the best player. because he wouldn't be. Aaron Donald is clearly the best player if Ndamukonh Suh were to go there. Those two as a 1-2 punch are playing with the reigning defensive player of the year now. It would help him. Maybe he wants to be in a place where all eyes aren't on him, all the pressure is not on him, because when he was in Detroit, when he was in Miami, it was all about that guy. Take care of him first, and then we'll worry about everybody later. Now that's going to change if he goes there.
Part of the reason it's all about you, though, is because you're making a lot of money. I mean, that's kind of how it works. Like, when you are the guy, you get paid a lot of money, and so everyone pays attention to you, just like everyone's paying attention to Aaron Donald. That's how the system works. My concern to L.A. is we heard the names rattled off of that defense.
Keeping them all around?
Well, no. I mean, Talib, Peters, Sue, Donald, like, listen, you better find somebody like this guy here.
It's pretty volatile in that huddle.
Yeah, heck yeah, it is. Like, you better find, like, that's not always a good thing. Right. You need leadership on your team, because you can't have a bunch of guys just doing whatever they want to do or getting frustrated and, and not doing their job.
Yeah.
So I would be very careful.
We have seen it before that teams win the offseason, or win March, or on paper they're a Super Bowl caliber defense, only to find that those pieces don't gel and don't become a team field, which I would think the Rams would at least need to consider in this instance.
That's 100% viable and definitely something we have to be mindful of. On paper, though, if Ndamukonh Suh signed with the LA Rams, it would be the first bad day for the 49ers since they traded for Jimmy Garoppolo.
There haven't been many.
Else has come up roses for them. Seriously, I mean, the idea of two players that both play on the interior of the defensive line, which we always focus on these sack masters as edge rushers, but the most direct path to a quarterback is right over the center or the two guards. The idea that you could just dominate and collapse that pocket continually and perpetually with those two players is a scary thought, especially because if you look at the Rams cap situation right now, like, they could afford Ndamukonh Suh and get a long-term deal done with Aaron Donald. That might be my bigger concern on signing Ndamukonh Suh, is does it have an impact on the Aaron Donald deal, the timing of it, the execution of it? If it does at all, then it's a little bit hairy. Otherwise, I think it's a no-doubter. You
heard Mort and Shefty reference the fact that he's taking the tour and doing the due diligence that he did not do the last time around with Miami. Do you like that? Is that a sign of good things to come, or does it matter?
I think it's fine as that. He's made a lot of money. There's no reason to be in a rush to go sign the first deal.
There's always a market for good defensive tackles.
And he would qualify as a good defensive tackle. There's no question about that. Coming up next on NFL Live, owners are expected to vote on, you may have heard this before, a revision to the catch rule in the coming days. We'll be back live in Orlando to talk about what to expect. And plus, John Mara, those stern public words for Odell Beckham Jr. on Sunday. But could you ever really move on from a player like this? Beckham sits down with our Randy Moss.
It doesn't matter who it is. He could be in perfect position. Right. I'm going to catch it. It's impossible to stop. You know what I mean? I trust in my hands. I trust that I'm gonna make the plays when they come my way. So
I trust in them things too. NFL Live, brought to you by Coke.